In the process of preparing those remarks with Deidre Bates, someone who I greatly admire, I reflect our conversation that we first had in this room. She taught me the sufferings of her grandparents in the hands of the Turks, and that it happened a long time ago. Memories fade as they travel from time to time in the family. Deidre did not come alone today. Her daughter Sarah is here, witnessing this sort of inquiry of what happened to her great-grandparents. Coincidentally, our first meeting happened on the 29th of October 2019, when the US voted by Resolution 296, the Armenian Genocide. Particularly, the US House of Representatives has voted in favour of accepting the genocidal attack of Armenians by Ottoman Turks during the World War. The resolution was passed by a vote of 405 to 11 in solemn remembrance of the great atrocities of the 20th century, and it says, and I quote, "This resolution states that it is US policy to, number one, commemorate the Armenian Genocide, the killing of 1.5 million Armenians by the Ottoman Empire from 1915 to 1923. Number two, reject efforts to associate the US government with efforts to deny the existence of the Armenian Genocide or any genocide. Number three, to encourage and educate public understanding about the Armenian Genocide." In recognizing the Armenian Genocide, it has reached an important milestone, such as the one that I just mentioned. The US is the 29th country to pass resolution to this respect. However, Deidre has expressed her fear that years will go past and that there will be no justice. The Armenian Genocide happened in 1915, and despite resolutions' affirmations, not all countries have bestowed catharsis by recognizing the Armenian Genocide. Was the end of 2019, Armenians like Deidre are still waiting for justice. But let me be very clear. This does not come close to the level of justice that families like Deidre wishes for and the level of international response they deserve. And if we do not act now, it will be too late. Proving genocide, like any other serious crime, has a factual element, with the Latin maxim known as actus reus, and specific intention known with the Latin maxim of dolus specialis. Article 2 of the Genocide Convention 1948, which is repeated in Article 6 of the Rome Statute, was clearly drafted with the fate of Armenians in mind and involves accusation of harm, whether physical or mental, to members of a group targeted by discrimination on national, ethnic or religious group. The overriding objective of the Genocide Convention 1948 and the historical facts as the one that we heard from Deidre Bates, such as deportations from Anatolia, the death marches through the desert, and the agenda of the Ottoman Empire for Turkification, which is found today in section 301 of the Penal Code, which is known as insulting Turkishness. Once the law applies, it can produce a verdict of genocide on criminal standards. The number of people who died is an issue to take in negotiations of normalizing relationships between Turkey and Armenia, but not improving and accepting that what happened in 1915 amounts to the crime of genocide. The Armenian Genocide happened a long time ago, and one has to study the memory, or indeed the evidence restoring memory, like the one that we heard from Deidre. Per Paul Ricoeur, discussions around right for memory has received international recognition with his book titled Memory, History, Forgetting. Denialist historians are troubled to explain the conditions under which deportations came to be ordered. Turkey itself defends the deportation policy as a result of the leadership of Atatürk, as the Committee of Union and Progress did at the time. Justifying such acts have been necessary for the country's self-defense. To understand the crime of genocide, one has to understand that genocide does not require proof of written order from the government. There are sufficient evidence to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the Ottoman state was responsible for genocide. There are contemporaneous and historical evidence from pictures, the Blue Book, the Constantinople trials, and the Ottoman archives, and of course testimonies. The sheer amount of evidence bears the question, if those crimes repeated today, would it amount to the crime of genocide? The recognition by 29 states that the treatment of Armenian people by the Ottoman government in 1915 amounted to genocide is a reality beyond any disputed numbers. There is no recompense that money can make for the physical and psychological injuries inflicted by genocide. International law at least recognizes the obligation to provide reparation for international wrongful acts. But money, even if paid to people who could prove the kinship with those massacred or marched to death, will not repair a lifelong hurt. And as Deidre said, I have carried this sadness for many years. I am sure this trauma is passed down through the genes. Deidre relates to the atrocities that currently happens to the Yazidis and insists that accountability must be delivered. I would like to conclude in the words of the Armenian American writer William Saroyan. I should to see my power of the world destroy this race, this small tribe of unimportant people, whose wars have all been fought and lost, whose structures have all crumbled, literature is unread, music is unheard, and prayers are no more answered. Go ahead, destroy Armenia, see if you can do it. Send them into the deserts without food or water, burn their homes and churches. Then see if they will not laugh, sing, and pray again. For those two of them meet anywhere in the world, see if they will not create a new Armenia. We must thank Deidre for her determination, not just to pass her memories, but the fate of her beforeheads, but to demand that it be required as some proof that they did not die in vain. Her persistence in this imperative inspires us to maintain the rage of crimes against humanity inflicted on human beings anywhere in the world.